Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, what an interesting day in the market today. Started off with some pretty rough news coming from Nvidia, coming from Palantir and others. Also had some good news as well. But the Nvidia news is probably the biggest one just because it is a very large cap stock and a lot of people love this company. And I'm not even gonna lie, I almost bought it last week. I'm glad I did not, thank God. But, because what they reported was not good, but it just shows you the market we're in with how little the stock went down, right? If this would have been before June 16th, this stock would have been down double digits. Okay, I can almost guarantee that. I think we all agree. But in the market we're in now, that just doesn't happen, right? The market we're in now is you got Bed Bath & Beyond going up double digits, AMC going up double digits, all these different stocks flying all over Twitter going up double digits. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. But, we'll go into the Nvidia news, the Palantir news. Also something that's just, I don't know. I know I sound like an a-hole for saying it, and maybe it's just me, but I'm going to say it and see if I'm alone in how I feel about this, because I'm just getting tired of it at this point in time. And then we're going to the most important thing. This is how we're going to know exactly what to expect in this market. And I'll pose the question to you because I've seen multiple people talk about this. I have my own opinions, and it looks like it's plain as day where we're at. And then if you know where you're at, you'll know where you're going, so to speak, kind of like a roadmap. And so we'll go into that. But I'm just going to read this off because whoever's in this stock right now, it just hit my phone as I'm sitting here recording this, and the stock is Upstart. It's actually, as far as I know, it's been halted, but I mean, these earnings are just a dumpster fire. I mean, good Lord. Again, it was up 15% today, sucking people into it. This is what I call pure manipulation of this stock, which should fall dramatically after this. Reports earnings, it missed expectations on EPS. It reported 0.01. Instead, the expectation was 0.10. Not even close. It gets worse, though. Revenue of $228 million, missing expectations of $241 million. That doesn't sound great, right? But look, check this out. This is the worst. Upstart said next quarter it expects revenue of $170 million, below estimates of, wait for it, $258 million. That's not even close. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, that's horrible. And so, again, the stock is halted. The last time I looked, it ain't moving. And so, I mean, if that thing isn't sitting around at least $25 tomorrow, something is just wrong in this market. I mean, again, it was going up, went up big today. And so we'll see what happens. But, if you own the stock, sorry for you, even though, again, it could go up 30% tomorrow in this market. So you never know. I don't know what anything with high short interest right now is really getting pushed hard. It's all over Twitter. It's all over the internet. People are just flying into these stocks, pushing them up again. So we're in meme stock mania. Even though the Chinese IPOs kind of quieted today. I've been following one of them. If you're in NVAX, that one's halted too. Blink's down after hours. What else we got? There was another really bad one in here, but I think I lost it. So, yeah, I mean, that's where we're at on that. And, going to the Nvidia news, if we look at that right there, I mean, this isn't a good thing because this is a big company, very popular company. Fell 8% in pre-market, ended up coming back up only to 5% down. But basically, their revenue, it went ahead and said, hey, let's take the hit now instead of later. And we were actually report earnings later on this month. And they said the second quarter revenue they're going to report $6.7 billion, which the outlook was $8.1 billion. So again, not even close, right? And if we scroll down here, you'll see why. Well, they basically says it's the gaming. That's the problem. The chip maker said the shortfall primarily reflects weaker than forecasted gaming revenue, which is down 44% sequentially and 33% from the prior year. Nvidia said the report is primarily due to a lower sell-in of gaming products, reflecting a reduction in channel partner sales, likely due to macroeconomic headwinds. Hey, macroeconomics, it does play a part in what we do here. And then you have Palantir coming in short. I mean, their stock dropped. At one point in time, it was down, I think it was around 12 to 15%, but it ended up fighting its way back. And the big thing I know about them is that the revenue rose 26% to $473 million, which is good. And analysts expected Palantir earnings of 3 cents a share on revenue of $469 million. In the June quarter, commercial revenue rose 46%, which is a good thing, to 210 million. Government revenue climbed 13%. Analyst estimates government revenue of 269 million and commercial revenue at 201 million. So they grew their commercial revenue more than expected, and then also met the government revenue as well. Bad part came in with the forecast, right? So they're forecasting 474.5 million. And the analyst estimates around 503 million, and then the analysts are saying because of the macro conditions right now, it's going to be hard for them to hit the 30% plus sales growth over the next 3 years. And plus, I believe the CEO said they won't be profitable until 2025, I believe, if I remember the year correctly. And by the way, if you get anything out of this, please hit that like and subscribe button for me. I really appreciate it. Think about sharing the video. As always, guys, thank you for all your support. And so it kind of leads us into what was annoying me today. And I don't know. I'm not trying to come off as an a-hole or insensitive or anything like that. I love helping people and being good-hearted, but it's just one of those things. When I see people in my own family up in Alabama and other places, and Americans over there hearing their stories every day where they're struggling, they're getting crushed under this inflation, right? I mean, they're working 2 jobs just to try to stay afloat. And I come across stories like this once again. Right here, U.S. readies new $1 billion Ukraine weapons package ready to go after we've already approved just a couple months ago $40 billion aid package. And on top of that, we had $400 million here we approved, $800 million here we approved. It's like all this approval. And I'm like, so I think we've approved like over $50 billion in 4 months or something that's supposed to be going over there, and weapons and food and whatever else they want to do. And that's great. And I feel bad for those people. I really do. But when people in your own country are struggling and you got nothing for them, and you're sending this to a country that I'll never see, I don't think anybody will ever see. I don't think 99.9% of Americans could pick it out on a map, and I'm one of those people, by the way. And I'm like, why are we sending so much money? I mean, where are the other countries? I've read what they've been sending, and either they got to up it or somebody's got to do something. Where's the UN? What are we doing here? And just at the pace we're going, I mean, we're going to be over 100 billion before you know it by year end. And I'm like, 100 billion? Do you know how many people you could help out here with $100 billion that are struggling out, working 2 jobs, just trying to make it? I don't know. I guess we're always the world's police, right? So I guess now we get to back everybody's wars too and stuff. And I'm thinking, you know what? The countries surrounding that country who are in much more danger than we are, it's time to pass around the hat. Time to do something here, because there's no end in sight to this. And when I see stuff like that and I hear American stories, and they're not hard to find, just struggling like crazy, getting evicted, ended up falling behind, losing their cars, everything else. And at no fault of their own, as far as it's not their fault. Inflation is where it's at, and our Fed and our government has absolutely screwed the pooch on it. It'd be different if it was, but a lot of people, it isn't their fault. And unfortunately, again, I always say, if you've never lived on that side of the tracks, and you're not supposed to call them poor, but I grew up poor, so I can say it. It's not politically correct anymore. It's rough. It's hard to get out of it, and especially in times like this, it's hard to survive it. I'm telling you right now. And I mean, it's just stuff like this. Again, I don't mind helping people, but am I like the only one that says, dude, how about we start, helping out here more? Like, what are we doing? I mean, I know $1 billion is chump change to the government. I get it. I still think $1 billion is a lot of money, but to the government, it's like a nickel, right? And they just go, don't worry, we'll just sell some more bonds, issue some more debt, But I always say that always comes due eventually. It's not going to be on us. It's going to be on our kids and grandkids, to pay for a war that they'll never remember. They'll never study about it in history books and here in America, and they'll never see that country. It's like other people around there got to start picking up. The UN has to step in and more. Other countries got to start stepping in more, in my opinion. That's just me. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I know I may sound like a horrible monster by saying that, but it's like, dude, come on, man. And I mean, understand why I'm saying this. Like, this is the reason why I'm saying this. Look at this. Federal aid by state 2022. This is through 2022 what we've gotten from our federal government, because we're the one that pay the taxes, right? They've gotten more than California, which is the 5th largest economy in the world. More than Texas and Florida combined. More than New York and Virginia and Pennsylvania and Illinois combined. I mean, it just comes a point where you got to go, hold up. That's why the joke is, I guess we're going to adopt them as our next state, right? Because we're sending them so much aid. And, I don't think it's going to stop. I really do predict we're going to go over $100 billion sent to Ukraine. I really think that's what's going to end up happening. And so, and the president's already said it's going to be expensive, and Republican Democrats are approving it. So, I mean, I know there's a political thing behind it, trying to bankrupt Russia, which just seems to be working, and that stuff. I get it. Same thing we did with Afghanistan is pretty much what we're doing when Russia was in Afghanistan. We're doing that same playbook. But, back then, I don't know. Maybe we did have inflation like it is now and people were struggling. I don't know. But, that's where I'm at on it. Let me know in the comments where you're at, please. And so that leads us to the question we got to have answered here, right? And, people talk about, well, if you're a real investor, you don't pay attention to macro and all this other stuff, which is total BS. I mean, you've seen right there what these companies are saying. Because of the macro headwinds, their earnings are taking a hit, right? So you might want to know that. Why are their earnings taking a hit? Is it bad management or is the macro headwinds, right? But one thing everybody needs to pay attention to is the business cycle and trying to figure out where in the world are we at. Because when I describe this, it kind of almost sounds like we're going right through the stages. And so it should tell us where we're going, right? Even though I know we're in a weird year, totally get it, right? And trying to study historical patterns isn't really paying off so much. And I mean, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But, if you look right here at the business cycle, you can see plain as day, you got stage 1 through stage 6, right? Now, I highlighted stage 5, and I'll try to put a bigger version of this up for you guys so you can see it. But tell me if this sounds familiar. Marks a peak in economic growth and the stock market. Even though the expansion continues, the economy grows at a slower pace because rising interest rates and rising commodity prices take their toll. Stocks anticipate a contraction phase by peaking before the expansion actually ends. Commodities remain strong and peak after stocks. So to me, that sounds like what we were going through from January to maybe April, somewhere in there, maybe March, because then commodities started to roll over, right? And then we're going to stage 6, marks a deterioration in the economy as the business cycle prepares to move from an expansion phase to a contraction phase. Stocks have already been moving lower and commodities now turn lower in anticipation of decreased demand from the deteriorating economy. Oil, corn, wheat, right? We've seen all these commodities roll over. Oil what did it start in April or May or something like that? Started rolling over and still continues to roll over. And then we go into stage 1. Shows the economy contracting and bonds turning up as interest rates decline. Economic weakness favors loose monetary policy and then lowering of interest rates, which is bullish for bonds. And so have we got there? Nope. We're still raising rates, right? So therefore, we definitely aren't stage 1. So it seems like we're in stage 6 trying to look for stage 1, which is what, if you remember, the pundit said why this rally is happening. Why all of a sudden we started moving up was the anticipation that the Fed is going to pivot and start lowering rates. Because remember, the stock market's always ahead of what the economy is doing, because it's trying to anticipate what it's going to be doing, which i.e. why that jobs report came out so strong the other day, which should push back that, if you're thinking it's April, May, or June, it should push it all the way back into the summertime, like July, August, September of next year, if that's the case, because people thought the job market was a lot weaker than it was, right? And then one rate chopped again, if you remember. And so, this is what we got to be looking at. And so if you've never studied this chart, please study it, because it rinses and repeats. It rinses and repeats all the time. I mean, I don't know how many years the business cycle normally takes. I forgot. I read it somewhere. But, this right here is what you see happening all the time. It's not always smooth as silk or anything. And sometimes you're looking at this trying to figure out where you're at. But, right now, if you just look even at the chart, where it's showing you where bonds go down, and then stage 5, bond and stocks go down, and then stage 6, bond, stocks, commodities go down, and so that's what you're trying to look at and figure this out. And so there's no doubt, I mean, how are we not in a contraction phase, right? But this is what's great about this, is it shows you the economy being in a contraction phase while the stock market's actually going up, because it's working ahead of the economy, right? It punishes itself before you ever get to that phase. And that way it starts to rise up as the economy starts to roll over. And so that's kind of, if you're wondering, like, I don't understand why the stock market's going up and the economy's, not good. That's why this happens, right? Because the economy is doing this and the stock market's ahead of it, trying to stay ahead of it the whole time and anticipating what's fixing to happen and looking, going, oh, we're in stage 6? Cool, let's start moving up because stage 1's right around the corner. right? And it's just a guess. All it is a straight up guess. The bond market's trying to guess what they're going to do, which is why when that bad jobs report came out, or good jobs report for people working, all of a sudden those bond yields rose right back up, right? So they're like, whoa, okay, they're not going to be able to cut that soon then if this is the case. They're going to have to keep raising, and they might even raise 75 basis points in September. Now, if we had a Fed with a backbone, they would raise this month. They would go ahead and say, okay, we're at least going to do 50 this month because that was a terrible jobs report. And maybe when the CPI data comes up, if it's down, they probably wouldn't do it. But if it came in hot again, you might be able to see that. We'll see. I don't see with oil rolling over like it did, gas coming down. I don't see how, it's going to be as hot as it's been. But, could be. I don't know yet. We'll have to see, because don't forget, like 1/3 of CPI is housing. And rents aren't coming down anytime soon, so you can forget about that. And then, of course, gas at the pumps, it takes a long time for those dropping oil prices to reach full effect at the pumps. But they went to 403 today, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll be below 4 next week, right? And so, again, that's not the same percentage drop you've seen in oil, but, it's something, and I'm enjoying it. I don't know about you, but I'm paying like maybe $15 less every time I fill up, which is nice, and so is my wife. So, I don't mind that a bit. And so this, let me know what you think. I mean, what stage you think we're in. If this makes any sense to you or whatever. But, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. And this is, no matter who you are, whether it's Warren Buffett, whoever, I promise you, they know the business cycle like the back of their hand. And they know what stages we're in when they're making their decisions, okay? Because who in the world wants to go in heavy on the market? If you're sitting in, stage 5 or whatever, and you're looking at it and you go, oh my God, this ain't good, because you know what's coming next, right? So you just know if we're in that stage and we're showing it plain and simple, well, I know going to the next phase, that's where I need to be, right? And then you can deploy your capital. So I don't know, just something to put out there to you. A lot of people have been talking about this, and so I want to at least present it to you and show it to you in case you've never seen it. So if you got anything out of it, hit the like, subscribe button. I really appreciate it, guys, and I'll see you later.